See, where is, okay, here we go. So for tonight, which is our last class, we are going to do a bunch of random things, like kind of like a hodgepodge. I'm trying to angle this better. I wonder if maybe putting this will help. We're going to do jobs, different locations, and then basically a different hodgepodge of different words that are kind of like objects, things like that, that'll be beneficial. So let me find it. Sorry, I was trying to find my list. Okay. So the first sign I have for jobs or work is, I'm going to turn this light off real quick because I know it's going to be like me doing this is going to like change the lighting. There we go. Okay. The first word I'm going to have is the word work, which is also the sign for job. So what you're going to do is you're going to have two S's. Oh, wait, I can make myself big. Let me make myself big. Excuse me. Whew. And then let me see. Okay. So what you're going to do is with these two S's, you're going to put your non-dominant down. Dominant's going to rest on top. Like I'm going to I have all these camper bracelets that Camper said maybe. You're going to put it on the side. So like, yes, like that. There you go. And you're going to tap it. Work. Work. Now, this is also the sign for like you're working on something like, oh, I have to go do some work or things like that. So that one is a generalized. You can use that for different, like for the different meanings of the word work. The next one I have obviously is going to be teacher. So the sign for teacher is going to be, you're going to do the sign for teach first, which is teach. Teach. So it's like you have your hand puppets and they bounce them back and forth on the side. And then you're going to go, and then you're going to add the air quote, like the ER, which is person. So you go teacher. Teacher. Mm-hmm. A couple of signs will have it where they, you will do the actual, like the word, like the root word, I guess. And then you add that person with it to add to the end to show that you're talking about that. So the next one, that's another one like this, is artist. So artist is going to be the sign for art, which is going to be your non-dominant sideways. Dominant is the pinky. And you're just going to have your pinky do a squiggly line on the side. And that will be art. So this is time for art. So then you would add art, person.
Hey, Gillian, when you're doing that, are you signing it toward the person or you're doing it sideways?
So you just keep it sideways completely. The reason I turn it is so you guys can see it, but usually it's just sideways right here, like artist. Mm-hmm. The next word I have is lawyer. So for lawyer, you're going to do the sign for law. So the sign for law is you're going to have your hand sideways again. You're going to have your dominant hand in the shape of an L. And I'm going to turn sideways so you can see it, but you would keep it still this way. Is you're going to put your L on top and then bottom. I think we did this one for law, like mother-in-law, possibly. I know I've done that in the past a few times. This is also what you would say for like if you're talking about like your mom and you would fingerspell I-N law, that sort of thing. So this is law. And so you do lawyer. All right. The next one is going to be librarian. And so for librarian, what you're going to do is you're going to have that L. And so this is the sign for library, is a circle motion. So that you'll do library person, librarian. Yep. So there's our little library. I'm trying not to do as many side stories tonight because I know I'm late. So I won't say it, but all I was going to say was that I used to forget the sign for, I'd not forget the sign. I would forget to teach the sign for library, and Miss Katie used to get really mad at me because I would do it every class, like every time. It was pretty bad. All right, let's go back through those that we've done.
Your track record now is impeccable, though.
I don't forget it. It's like, it's almost like
much better than me remembering to record the class. So
we all have our moments. There's some weaknesses in areas, and mine is library. I cannot talk tonight. So let's go back to our top that we did. So we had work. Then we had teacher. You can do just one, like you can just do one boom and down, or you can go teacher. Either way works. It's not like that's going to make a big difference. Then we had artist, art person, artist. Then we had lawyer, law person, lawyer. Then we had librarian. I keep wanting to call it, I keep changing it from saying library to librarian and then librarian to library. I cannot get those slight intonations right. Library and then our librarian. Okay, so now on to our next. The next one we have is engineer, which is going to be also the sign for measure. And it's going to be, you're going to have two Y's. You're going to have your Y's touch. And it can be your left or your right, is whichever is your dominant. You're going to bounce it. And that's engineer. Well, this is like measurement. Some people will just say this sign for this. They don't for like engineer, like, oh yeah, I work as an engineer. Like they don't always add that person afterwards. I typically do because my brain wants to go, well, measure. But I've seen someone, they'll just say it one time, like they'll just do this. But you can also, if you want to make sure it's like clearly understood, you can just go engineer. The next one I have is doctor. So doctor is one of the few ones, one of the ones that we don't add this person to. Okay, so for doctor, what you're going to do is you're going to have your non-dominant hand palm up. Dominant hand is going to have it kind of like that bent right angle. You're going to hit the palm, like the bottom, yeah, and you're going to bounce it. And this is doctor. Because if you think about it, it's like doctors around here with your pulse, checking your pulse, things like that, doctor. So you don't have to have it like as like it's almost like kind of awkward having it sideways. You would have it more like towards you in the front. Yeah, doctor. The next one is nurse. And so for nurse, what you're going to do is you're going to have two fingers and you're going to do the exact same thing. Nurse. Nurse. Then we have student. So student is going to be the sign for learn and then person. So the sign for learn is, again, we have our non-dominant palm up. Dominant's going to start kind of like, you're almost going to think jellyfish. You're going to go up and you're going to bring it to your forehead. Learn, student. Person, sorry. Learn, and then add that person at the end. So student. The visual from this is like if you're holding a book open and it's the information is coming to your head. That's kind of what the visual I think of. Learn, student. My goodness. The next one is chef. So for chef, what you're going to do is you're going to do the sign for cook, which is, I think we did this one, but we're going to do it again. Review it. You're going to have your palm up, palm down is going to start here, and you're going to bounce it back and forth. Cook. So you would do cook, person, cook, person. Let's see. All right, let's do one more and then we'll go review. So the next one is going to be president. So for president, this one's kind of an interesting one. You're going to start with your open, like huge open C's near the side of your head. And you're going to pull them out to an S. So it's almost like I think of bull horns, like horns that are like wide here and they come to a point. It's almost that motion. President. And so that can be talking about any type of president of a job, president of the United States, things like that. So, yeah. All right, let's go back to engineer. So we had our engineer. Then we had doctor, which was doctor. Then we had our nurse. And then we had our student, which was learn person. Student. Then we had president. All right, now let's see where the rest of this list goes. All right, so the next one we're going to have is counselor. And so the sign for counselor is going to be the sign for counsel. And what it is it's going to be, you're going to have your non-dominant in an S. Your dominant is like in that small hand puppet on top, and you spread it out. Yeah. This is, I'm pretty sure the sign for counsel and like advice, because that's usually what, a counselor's usually there to help give you advice, help you with that. So that kind of logic. So you'll do counsel or advice first. Counselor. Fun fact. So, I work at a summer camp, and my staff are called camp counselors. And I was truly curious about how you would call them. Like, what would you give them a job title? Like, how would you describe them if I was talking about them inside? I was asking a couple of my coworkers, because in my mind, I'm like, well, they're not fully teachers because they're still young. They're not qualified teachers. Like they're college level students. But I was like, but also like counselor, like they're not, I'm in my mind going, counselors are like people you visit for needing help and things like that. And I'm like, that's not what, they are, but like, that's not what their job is. I don't know. It was really, I had a hard time trying to catch it. And everybody I talked to was like, I would just do camp counselor. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, or finger spell the whole thing. And I was like, I'm good. I will continue with counselor. Even if I don't fully feel like it's that, I will go with it. So I just remember having that conversation and being like, okay, this is not it, but all right. So the next one we have is manager. So the sign for manager is you're going to have two X's. You're going to turn them sideways, and then you're going to move them back and forth. So this is the sign for manage, like control, manage. So you'll do this and then person, manager. Yes, good. Now one that's very similar is server. So server is going to be the same thing, kind of that same motion, but instead of like our little X's, it's going to be open hands. Server. Good. All right, let's see. All right, the next one, I'm sorry, I was counting because there was one I was like, that we did before, and then one that was like, the words like only 2 letters, so I don't know what it was, and I was like, we're gonna skip it. The next one is clown. And so the sign for clown is kind of it's very much, you're gonna be like, oh, that makes sense. And it's clown. And it's on the nose, clown. All right. Let's do one more. And that is, excuse me, astronaut. So what you're going to do for astronaut is you're going to do rocket person. So the sign for rocket, you're going to have your hand sideways. You're going to have your dominant hand in the shape of an R. And you're going to go rocket. And so you'll do rocket person, rocket person. I don't know about y'all, but every time I think of Rocket Man by Elton John, because it's technically rocket person, and my brain's just like Rocket Man, but it's astronaut. Okay, so let's go back. We had counselor, which was counselor, counselor. Then we had manager, manage with those X's, manager, manager. Then we had server, which was server, server. Then we had clown, clown, the little clowns. And then our final one was astronaut, astronaut, astronaut. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I have random hiccups. They've been kind of coming and going all day today. Don't know what from, but they've been there. Okay. Now the next set of words we're going to have are words that are, like I said, these are the more like the objects and different things like that. So the first one we have is the sign for medicine. So, well, I say this, but then the next one's going to be, it's a hodgepodge of words. So this next one, the sign for medicine first is going to be palm up, and your middle finger is going to go kind of similar to where we go for nurse and doctor, and then you shake it, medicine, like you bounce your hand back and forth on medicine. So there, and that's usually, some will do pill, like if you're talking about like taking a pill, like they'll flick it in their mouth, like it's about, you're like popping a pill. But most of the time, like when you're just talking about medicine as a whole, it's just medicine. Like, oh, I had to take medicine or stuff like that, medicine. The next one is please. So the sign for please is going to be please. It's open hand and you go in a circular motion on your chest. Please. Then the next one is good. So I think we did this one, I think a while back. I was trying to remember what we connected it with, but so I think it was good morning. So the sign for good is good. 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 And you make sure your hand, like you don't turn your hand, like it keeps that same motion on top. Yeah, good. All right. The next one is bad. And so for bad, it's going to be the same similar motion, except now you do flip it. Bad. Bad. I had a not camper. Oh my gosh, I say that every time. I had a student who liked to say, whenever I would say good morning, they would go, no, bad morning. And I'll be like, what's wrong? And then they'd be like, nothing. Like they just felt the need to be like, I'm going to say bad morning. And so we made it a joke. And so we would switch it every other day as I would go like bad morning and he'd go good morning. And it's a whole little thing. It's very funny, but that's all I think about whenever I think of bad. It's just bad morning. All right. The next one is nice. So the sign for nice, which I think we also did again, is nice. 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 And then the next one is rude. We didn't do rude with emotions, correct? No. Sometimes I add it there. That's why I was checking. So for rude, what you're going to do is you're going to have, well, yes. So it's the Y, and you're going to start on the opposite side of your mouth, and you're going to come across rude, rude, rude. All right. The next one is sick. So the sign for sick, and it's kind of hard to tell or hard to see all of it because I'm sitting. But what you'll do is you're going to have the two middle fingers again. One goes to your forehead, one goes to like above your stomach, like it's above my belly button. So you're gonna have them both kind of like sick. Sick. Okay. The next one is sit. It's 2 in 1, not 2 in 1, but it's kind of 2 in 1. So it's going to be the sign for chair, which is going to be those 2 fingers. One is sideways, and then one's going to tap on it. Chair, chair. And you're going to make sure to tap it at least twice. Chair. If you do it one time, that's sit. So chair, sit. The next one we have, where is it? Is going to be table. So the sign for table is going to be, you have your non-dominant across, and your dominant is going to come up top and go table. 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 Then the next one, and then after this, I promise we will go back because I know I'm throwing a lot, is pen/pencil. And that is pencil. It's like, you have like that little pinch, like, yeah, like you're pretending you're right on something. Pencil. Pencil. Okay. Let's go back. We started with medicine, which was medicine. And you like shake it back and forth. Like I keep my finger there and it's like, it just moves back and forth. Yeah, medicine. Then the next one was please. Please. Then good. Good. Then bad. Bad. Then nice. Nice. Rude. 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 Then sick. 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 I know you can't see him leaning there. It's right there. Sick. It's so hard to tell unless you fully stand up. Then we had chair. Chair. And then sit. Sit. So to help that out, because that can be really confusing. The way I think about it is that if it's like the noun, like it's the object, a chair, you're going to bounce it a couple times. But if you are actually like telling a verb, like you want them to do something, that one time. That's kind of how it's kind of like, it's like when I think about like today and now, like today's just a whole day, but now I'm focusing on a specific, like it's now, I need you here now sort of thing, if that makes sense. Okay. Then we had table. Table. And then pencil. 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 Okay. So the next ones I have, the next one is trash, or like garbage, but really trash, is going to be, so I'm going to lift it. I'm going to make it look very awkward. This is just so you can see it. Really, it would be much lower, like right here. Okay. So you're going to have your non-dominant in an angled fist, and you're going to go trash. Like trash. Like, sorry, I did this punish. Trash. Trash. It's like you start here and then you bounce to hit your elbow. Trash. 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 Ashley, are you typing? I'm sorry. You sat up and I thought your hands were moving and I was like, okay, is she typing? And I was ready. And then you like stopped and I went, wait, okay, let me double check this before I close this chat. All right, just checking. All right. You're totally fine if you do. I just want to make sure I don't miss it. That was why. All right. So then we have window. So for window, what you're going to do is you're going to go like this. You're going to have them on top of each other. Well, whoops, I did this far. Sorry. I don't know why. My day has been just all kinds of crazy. And I'm sitting here like this. And I'm like, no, that's not right. It's two hands. And you go window. You bounce it back and forth. If you're wanting it to be opened, like it's a closed window, you start here and you bounce it and then open it up. So open the window. If you want the window closed, you go close. So close the window. Sometimes you can go close, like I'll sometimes to just emphasize, I'm talking about a window ahead. I'll bounce and then I'll close. Either way works. Then we have door. So door is going to be two B's. They're going to be together. And you're going to think about, is it French doors? I think it's French doors. The motion of door. So this is kind of the motion for door. That is, basically think your pinkies are the hinges and you're watching the door open. What is usually done is like if you're talking about, I need you to open the door. Hey, open the door. Like you'll make that motion of opening it. What's really cool is when people are describing things, almost like, in storytelling and things like that, is that that can actually make a difference on how you're telling it. So like, for example, there's always this really cool story that I'll see signed, and it's like talking about like someone's walking. It's called an ABC story. And what it is that it goes through the alphabet, like all the signs are in alphabetical order. So for example, I have the A, and so the A may be knocking. And then there's the B's of the doors opening, and the C's for looking through. It's really cool. If you go on YouTube and you type in ABC signing stories, they are really cool. I think there's a few that I feel like that was on a link or something that we have. It's really cool. I personally always love watching them because you watch and you're like, oh wait, I can catch on to that. So that's always a cool thing. But that's always what I think about when I do like the big double doors. Yes, the Halloween ones are always fun. All right. The next one is going to be the sign for light. So the sign for light is going to be your middle finger again. So making like an 8. And what you're going to do is under your chin, you're going to flick it. And you're not flicking hard enough to hurt yourself, but you are flicking. So this is light. So this is the sign for light. If you want lights on, you would do light. And then you start here with them little sad puppets and go on. So think about like when you have the lights, when you turn them on, they brighten up. On. If you wanted something like lights off, what you would do is you'd go light and start open and close. My visual is the visual of the lights actually being like, almost like the light itself being sucked in and being thrown out. That kind of motion. Okay. The next one is going to be clothes. So the sign for clothes is going to be like a shape of 5s. Your thumbs are going to brush down your shirt. And so it's clothes. And this is just the general sign for clothes. So sorry, guys. The next one is going to be dress. And so for dress, what it is you're going to go full down. So like, I will back up for this one. Oh, I knew that was going to squeak. Okay. So you would start that same motion, but you go down and out, like a dress goes out. Dress. Dress. So where clothes is just kind of on the top right here, dress, showing that it keeps going. Even if it is a short dress, you would still sign that lengthwise, and then you would show on your leg where the dress ends. All right. The next one is shirt. And so the next sign for shirt is, or not the next sign. The sign for shirt is shirt. You just kind of pull on your shirt. Now, there is also, that also can be the sign for volunteer. So it's a kind of a crazy one. With like if someone ever says to you like this, I would check first and maybe finger spell. Are you saying volunteer or shirt? Like maybe grab both of it. Because I do have a few friends who have accidentally thought they were talking about a shirt and then somehow got roped into volunteering. They'll get you that way. And they'll totally be like, yes, you volunteer now. So, all right. Excuse me. let's go back through those. So we had our trash, 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 trash. Then we had our window, window, window. We had our open the window. And then we had our close the window or close the window. Mhm. Then we had door, 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 or door. So I know this one's kind of crazy because I keep showing you the three like different ways you can do it. The best advice I would have is that whichever way, like the door, like I'm looking at the door I'm looking at now would go door. It's kind of thinking of the door you're talking about and visualizing, would you open it to swing it this way or would you open it to swing it that way? And that's the kind of motion. So like if you're grabbing both handles and you open them at once, that's when you do the both. All right. Then we have lights, lights, lights. We had our lights on, lights on, and then lights off. Then we had clothes, clothes, clothes. Then we had dress, dress, dress. Then we had shirt, shirt. Okay. So my final, let's see, I'm pulling it up. There we go. All right. The next group of words are, one is pants. So the sign for pants, it's hard to show. Basically, let me see if I can do it. Is, see, no matter how far back I go, you can't see the lower half. You basically go pants. Like you show the pant legs, pants. All right. Then we have the sign for deaf, like the actual sign for deaf, which is you're going to start here with the D, corner of your mouth, and you're going to go back to your ear. Deaf, deaf. The next one is hearing. And so the sign for hearing is going to be your pointer finger again. You're going to go in front of your mouth, and then you're going to go in a circular motion. Hearing. Hearing. The interesting thing is that's actually also the sign for public, for like public school. So if you're talking about a deaf, this is the motion for school. School is like side clapping. Yeah, school. If you're talking about a deaf school or a public school, they say hearing. They use the sign for hearing. I mean, it makes sense, but also like whenever I talk about public schools or anything outside of work, I always call them hearing schools because of that, because I'm always like, oh yeah, hearing schools. And then people give me the weirdest look. They're like, what? And I have to explain it. So I'm always trying to remind myself it's public. It's not, I know it's the sign for hearing, but it's meaning public. The next one is hard of hearing. So hard of hearing is going to be an H, and you're going to go hard of hearing. So you bounce it, H, H. Hard of hearing, H, H. The next one is repeat / again. And so what that one's going to be is you're going to have your hand sideways, and you're going to go repeat, repeat, repeat. That one's a good one to know for if you're talking to someone and you miss something and you need them to say it again. Can you repeat? Like, please repeat again, repeat. The next one is need. So need is going to be an X, and you're going to tap it. Need. 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 Then we have can, like I can, not a can of things, but like I can do that. And so can is going to be 2 S's, and you're going to go can. 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 Now, what's interesting is that most of the time, whenever you say like, I will not, or things like that, I won't, it's usually will not. For can't does have its own sign, and it's going to be can't. It's like you just hit your other hand, can't, your other finger, can't. All right. The next one is want. And so for want, you're going to have open hands like this, and you're going to go want. Want. So like you start open, palmed away, bend your fingers together. Want. Ow, I did that really hard. I like pinched my finger doing that. Want. Want. The next one is don't want. So the way you can do don't want is there are two parts that you can do not want, like you'd add that not, which we haven't done. I'm sorry, I realized that. I thought we had. You have your thumb under your chin, and you go not. So that one you can pretty much add onto like anything like want, need, and so you can say like, so if you're saying I don't want that, you can go not want, no. Another way you can do it is you can do you go like this, is you go want and then throw it away. Want, throw it away. It's almost like you got it and you're like, I don't want this, and you're being dramatic. Like I almost think about like a 3-year-old, you know, when you give them like food and they're like, and they like slap it away. It's like that motion. I don't want this. Like I'm tossing this behind me. It is not for me. So don't want. Okay. The last one I have, and then we'll go back through those, is stop. And so the sign for stop is stop. You have your non-dominant and you just put it in front. Stop. Stop. All right. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, you guys. It has been a wild day today. All right. So we have the sign for pants, which I'm going to do it awkwardly up here. Pants. Then we had deaf. Yeah, it's just like, I mean, I know I said a D, but it doesn't have to be a specific D, as long as like you just have your pointer finger in it. Deaf. Then hearing. And then hard of hearing. Then we had repeat or again. Repeat. Again. Then we had need. Then we had can. Then we had can't. Then we had want. And then we had this one I'm adding in here. We had not. Then we had don't want, which is why I was saying the not. So don't want or don't want. And then our next one was stop. Okay. So let's see. All right. So there's a few more. We'll make it through this, our last little group, I promise. So the next one I have is the sign for Alabama itself. So interestingly enough, I'll try not to stay too long on it. Most states, not all states, have a sign for them. Alabama is not necessarily one of them, but there is a sign motion that goes with it. Most of the time for states, what you do is you do like the initials. So like, goodness, I'm so sorry, guys. Like for Kentucky, it'd be like KY, Kentucky. New York has its own. New York is palm up and it's a Y and it goes back and forth. And it's like the motion of like the subway, New York. California has one for, and this is like the I love you sign. You put it up on your cheek and then you pull that finger back. And this is because this is the motion for, wait, sorry. Which one is it? Oh no. Let me check on that one. Basically, it's the motion for gold, but I'm trying to remember because gold's throwing me for a minute because I'm like, is it this? Let me double check on that because I don't talk about California that often. We live in the South. I talk about Alabama, Georgia, Florida, all the ones around us. I don't always go to the West as far, but I'll double check on that one. But so for Alabama, what you're going to do is you're going to go ALA, but you'll do it fast, Alabama. Like you basically are just bouncing your pointer finger back and forth. And it's because you're making that ALA motion fast. Alabama. Louisiana is LA. And so I typically, because that's like very similar, I go back, like I make an L and I pull it back. Louisiana, and then Alabama. Those slight differences. Okay. The next one is more. This one you guys have probably seen because I know this is what a lot of people teach their babies when they do it is more. Then we have the sign for no, like I know this, not no, I don't want that. No, I know. And it's no. Tap it on the side. No. Then for don't know, what you're going to do is you're going to start here at the no. You can do that. You can do not know. I don't know. That works. There's also another one. So it's kind of like how I said, want, like don't want or don't want. There's two ways you can do it. So there's the don't know. And then there's the don't know. Don't know. Don't know. Then the next one is understand. And so understand is going to go understand. I understand. That one I think of like a light bulb, when a light bulb goes off, like oh, I get it. It's like the light bulb is flickering. Understand. Don't understand. What you're going to do is you would do that not understand. Not understand. Some people will, instead of even adding the not, what they'll do is they'll shake their head. They're going to go, and they're going to make this face to you. And that, even though it's not them officially saying straight up, I don't understand, they're just signing the word for understand. Facial expressions are key in there. And that's kind of, a lot of people will do that for things. Like, I think, like sometimes they'll go like, no, like they look at you like they're confused, but like showing this, it's kind of just that added, it's almost like how if you think about when we talk in our voice and like, someone says, oh, do you understand? You're like, yes. Like you kind of keep that little, it's like that. It's basically like, what? No. So I wanted to let you know in case you're like, okay, they're signing this, but their face is telling me not. That is also a thing that is used. Okay. And then our last word I have for us is sorry, because I realized I didn't add that one up with please. So the sign for sorry is very similar to please, but it's a fist and you're going to go sorry. It's like an A and you just go in a circle motion on your chest. Sorry. So we had I guess we had New York because I did add that one. We had our New York, the Y bouncing back and forth. Then we had Alabama, which was Alabama. Then we had more. No. Don't know. We had not know or don't know. Then we had understand. So remember, you'll have the back of your hand facing outward and you're flicking it up. Understand. And then we had don't understand, which was don't understand or don't understand. And then we had our sorry. Now, just a few key things that I was going to go over, just kind of explaining again is like how important like facial expressions are. And especially when some people will do, so like how we did our WH question words, sometimes people will be like, oh, like they'll do the scrunch down or, well, I guess it'd be up. I love how I go this, but do you know? They might ask you in a question with that word no or understand with the eyebrows up. So a key difference between someone saying, oh yeah, I understand versus do you understand is the eyebrows here. It really is a big impact. It can really change the course of the conversation quite fast because then you're just like, oh yeah. And they're like, wait, so you do get it. Okay, great. And then you're like, wait, what? I did catch myself on that one time. Someone asked me if I understood and I was nodding along because I do that when I'm talking to other people about like when they're telling a story and I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, you understand. And I was like, wait, no, I've not experienced that before. That's always a fun little tidbit to like just learn in conversation. But yeah, let's see. Okay. So I know we have 1 minute. I'm just trying to give you guys a little bit of time. Are there any final questions or signs that you guys would like to know? I'm going to pull my chat box up so I can see. Is this not, we have one more? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I thought this was are we sure? I thought this was the last
No,
one.
we have one more. This is class 7 because remember we skipped 4th of July.
July. Oh
Yeah.
my word. Okay, I'm sorry guys. Color Wars is really throwing me in a loop because I fully believe this was like our last class. And I was like, that's why I was like, okay, throwing words, guys, like giving you guys the final group. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Okay.
No, I know this isn't our last class because the other thing is that this is just me. It really bugged me to have the last class on the first Tuesday of a month. Like I wanted it to fit nicely and it didn't.
Right. Oh my word.
But we
Guys.
can do review next week and we can do we can do things like I have 3 sisters or I need help or
we
can just practice kind of
I threw so much at
together.
y'all. Next week will be a good time to do review. It'll also be a good time for more detailed questions that you guys have. And then another thing is that will be we can do more, like Katie was saying, more practice like sentences geared towards you guys, like personal. We can make it not personal, but like geared towards you, basically is what I was trying to say. Because I was like, I'm not going to make you say personal information and just geared towards y'all. So yes, like a number review and things like that. So I'm going to show the sign for work once more, and then we'll be done. And so it's work. So it's like, okay. You have your non-dominant sideways, your dominant, it's like the palm, like the lower palm taps the top, work. So you don't go on top because if you go on top, that's the sign for rock. So this is work. It's the up. Yeah. I was like, I'm wondering if she's seen rock before or something like that. Cause that one can easily confuse a lot of people as rock versus work. But yeah. All righty. Well, I will see all of y'all next Tuesday. I promise I'll have more of myself together because next Tuesday is when my school starts back in session. So I will not be
my gosh, Gillian.
I will not be sweaty. I will not be looking like this every time. I try to usually change a little bit before I fix up my hair, but like I said, I was running late. So I was like, y'all are going to have me at my moments now. This is how I came back from work. So
just don't show up for class at 5:30.
Yeah.
Because you usually do it at 5:30 when you're teaching.
Right. Well, do we want to just leave it at 6:30 since we've done it that way? Or do we want to I don't want to confuse anybody.
I say we leave it at 6:30 because the person you're going to confuse is me.
Look, I'll confuse you and then confuse myself in the end because then I'll sit there, it's still 6:30 and then I'm like, no, it's not. I moved it up to 5:30. Yeah. So we'll keep it there. I wanted to double check because I was like, but yes, I will be done with camp. So
Okay, I hope you get a relaxing night tonight, Jillian.
I need it because tomorrow
Thank
is
you so
gonna be
much.
big. Oh, all right. Y'all have a wonderful night, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.